Welcome in everyone to Trucker Talk Radio with J&J. I'm John. This is Justin. Friday, February 28th, finally Friday.
And
Well, thank God. So it's been a long week for me. Busy, trying to get this app up and rolling, and then trying to get our podcast out there to everybody and promoting and all that good stuff. So what's going on
yeah,
with you, Justin?
about the same. It's been a so week. It's been somewhat productive on the recruiting side. Just glad it is Friday. Hopefully, the first of the month will bring in new drivers and new content.
Yeah.
As the same, just trying to promote the podcast and trying to get ready out there and ready. And
Yeah. Going to get ready for the truck show. I'm having my dad look over stuff. He's big into presentations. Like I said, he worked for an oil company. He's also taught philosophy and ethics, and he's big into like reviewing papers and loves to be busy. And he's retired now, so he can't. He tries to escape my mom sometimes upstairs and
yep,
find stuff to do. And so I gave him our presentation to kind of go over and redline, and he redlined the hell out of it.
that's great.
So he's going to be fun because I always say if that's what I've told my developers, if our developers, I said if my dad can use the app, anyone can use it. So
Yeah. I was actually talking with the driver today. He's not that great, with technology, and I was telling him. He was upset because he had to do an app that wasn't a normal application like 10 Street, and that this
hmm
different one. And he had been with probably 20 companies over the last 10 years for every reason under the book, and some his, some the care, what have you. And I explained to him, I said, don't feel bad. I said, a lot of guys, probably, I mean, I'm almost 50, but I'm still easy to say guys in their mid to early 40s, if they didn't grow up with the technology, they don't know how to operate it a lot of times. Old school trucker nowadays they're an afterthought when it comes to all this technology because I know guys that they stopped at the one phone booth in the middle of a route and they had to call by a certain time and get there to find out what the load was for tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Those guys, they get a little old cell phone, man. They don't want to mess with it, much less talk on it, much less tap in it and give permissions and stuff. So
Mhm.
that's one thing that I was telling him about Ready App was, the old school trucker. We don't have many more years with those guys. A lot of those guys will be retiring out if they hadn't already. We will be able to help streamline that so much that you don't have to go back in and write everyone and get it right and have to go back and change it because they say, hey, this month you were actually unemployed. Go back and fix it. Those guys, I'm not even the most tech savvy person, and I've been on the internet, like I said my other night, with eBay since '99. So, and there's still stuff that I don't even have a clue about. So, I do think, and he was excited to hear about it because any way to make it a little bit easier, I think anybody's going to like it for that.
Yeah, that's the number one goal with it, right? I mean, onboarding made simple is our tagline, and simple is the key word. I want drivers to be able to use it with ease.
Mhm.
Like I said last night, I mean, if you're out there and you're trying to use Ready App and you struggle in the very least, we want to know about it. I want to know, how I can tell our developer to change it, and we'll change it as quickly as possible. So to make it easier. So we're gonna do surveys and stuff like that to, like I said, I'm gonna have my dad test it, when it's never going to be the final copy, but before we get to the truck show and really launch, our launch date is that truck show is the 27th, the Mid America Truck Show. So, but before that happens, my dad will use it, and if he can get through it from beginning to end, I know we're on the right track at least.
I look forward to the truck show. I haven't been to one in a couple of years, but I look forward to getting guys' reactions to what the app's capable of, introducing it to carriers as well to get their feedback. Something we ought to do, and we hadn't talked about this all air, but if we can find somebody that can tell us something about one of our episodes that's been a listener, we need to do something for them. If we out of our 35 people so far, if one of them's at the truck show and
I
they
love that idea.
need to
If
do
you
something for you guys.
Yeah, we need yeah, if you can just tell us something that you've heard on the show, just come up to us and say, "Hey, I know you guys or I recognize you guys." And I just put out an ad on Facebook, so hopefully you guys can find us on Facebook. I'm trying to look and see right now what our booth number is, and I'll find it before the night's over. Oh, confirmation. Here we go. What did I get here? So we're booth 38360. We're in the technology section. Definitely come and find us. It's under Ready App. We'll have some Trucker Talk Radio marketing there as well. I'm trying to get some t-shirts put together for Trucker Talk Radio. So we'll come out and have fun. I don't know if we'll get a chance to do the show this round, but definitely next year. I that's a goal for me. I want to do this show at least one day while we're there,
Yep.
and have a and get and interview some drivers, get some comfortable chairs. Hell, man, I'd like to get some. I'm seeing these new podcasts. I'm watching these videos now to like kind of get ideas of how our setup is, and these guys have like these super comfortable chairs. They've got these recliners. They've got the speaker that comes over their shoulder and is right here.
Yeah, I've already thought about that. Like, yeah, we get a few.
Yeah, I mean, even you look at I don't know if I mean I'm big into SEC sports and stuff, so I watch Marty and McGee all the time. I
Yeah,
love those guys, and they're sitting, just relaxed in the studio in a comfortable chair. So I got to get. I've been pushed, like I said last night. I've been pushed to where my pool table is, kind of like my little man cave here. But I need to get some comfortable. I need to get a comfortable chair that I can sit in and kind of.
me too. Because this is the same chair I sit in 12 hours a day on the phone, and I want to. I do. That I am going to build, fix up, and I was thinking the same, like not so much maybe a recliner, but just an actual sitting chair that I can lean back in and not fall back like I am, and just
Yeah, I'm sitting in a kind of like a. It's not really I guess it is a bar height chair, bar height stool. When you're sitting and you're playing pool and you're just waiting on the other person to pass on, or if you got, we
gotcha.
have a lot of, my wife and I have another couple in here all the time, and we'll be playing pool, and so these are those chairs to sit in. So they're not uncomfortable, but they're not the most comfortable either.
They're not an hour long sitting chair.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So no, I think that's a good idea. So let's come up with maybe it'll be a gift card or something of the sorts to give away to the driver. Something that has to do with money, because I know, drivers, everybody, me included, not just drivers, but we want a money prize. So I want to be careful. I want to make sure that we abide by the rules for the truck show. But I think you're right. Let's do a nice little giveaway for somebody who can, you know, maybe the first person who comes up and says, "I heard you guys on the radio," and says something to us.
Yeah,
We'll have a little something special for you.
yeah. Maybe we'll come across a listener there. That would be pretty cool, and pretty surreal, I think, to at that big of a truck show just to have. I mean, there's so many people out there, and I do think the podcast seems to be the wave of the future because it seems like every aspect of everything now, from sports to different types of businesses, everybody seems to really like the podcast. Even as doing it plus listening because it's so much easier than radio and all that.
It really well, and for us, like right now, I think we'll get. I think eventually we're gonna get a set time. We're gonna get a rhythm where we're on all the time, and but it allows for flexibility for guys like you and me who do other things outside the podcast. Um, I think it'd be a dream to do it, full time. But I was listening actually to I listened to so I'm a Kentucky guy, so listen to a podcast called Kentucky Sports Radio, and Matt Jones, the owner, that was talking the other day about the ease of podcast now, and how when he started a podcast it was simple. No one had ever heard of it, and he didn't even know how to set one up, and I think it was through like a web link or something, and it was just so he's talking about how it's evolved over time. But really, you have So with iHeartRadio, it's really cool because a few years ago, maybe not even that long, we thought radio was kind of dead. I mean,
Right.
You had Sirius XM, you had satellite. Now with CarPlay in the car, you can listen to all the apps. So you can listen to Spotify, you can listen to iHeartRadio. Those two apps seem to be, or Apple Music,
Yeah.
they seem to like basically give you access to, especially iHeart. They give you access to any radio station you need in the country. So, I can access Kentucky stations. I can access Florida stations when my dad loves the Tampa news station on the radio here, so he listens to that up in Cincinnati. And
That's awesome.
the access that
Yeah.
we have now, without just having to turn the dial,
Mm-hmm.
it's
And
it's pretty incredible.
yeah, and then now you can save everything the way you want. You can have your list where gives you a notification as soon as a new one comes out, or tells you when somebody's going to be available next time show. And it's a long way from where it was back 20 years ago when you were traveling and you get 5 miles out of the city and all you had it and you can't find the radio station for 45 minutes. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember my dad. I mean, he would the music station. My dad wasn't really big into music like we were, like my brother and sister and I were, and my mom was. And my mom would have on some soft rock station that would just annoy the crap out of him. And the minute it started to fade out, he's like, "We got to go to AM radio and listen to the news." And then we're getting, at that time, I mean, as kids, we hated it, and so we're getting nauseous in the back of the station wagon, and it's just,
Yep. Yep. Remember them days far too well. That's right. That's great.
yeah. So what about this, man? Did you see Trump? Trump and JD Vance? Man, I got to give them props for standing their ground,
Yeah.
not taking any disrespect from Zelensky in the Oval Office. And JD Vance kind of started it, and he was just like, "You're not going to litigate here in front of the American press in the Oval Office and show this kind of disrespect." And then, you know, Zelensky tried to like put JD in a corner by
Mhm.
basically telling, "Have you ever even been to Ukraine?" And JD was kind of backed in the corner a little bit, and he kind of worked his way out of it. He's like, "I know enough to, know that you are taking advantage of the U.S. and you haven't really said that you haven't really thanked us. We're doing everything we can to end this war." And I just heard right before we got on this podcast, Zelensky's doing an interview, and he says that he wants to end the war and have peace, but yet he doesn't. And I understand some of it. Some of it is Putin. You know,
Mm.
they've had these ceasefires, and then Putin, says the hell with it and does his thing,
Right.
and basically breaks the promise. But I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was excellent TV, seeing Trump go at and really stand up for America. And that's what gets me. I turn on, the other stations aside from Fox News, and I'm not thrilled with Fox, but they're better than most of them. And, you turn on CNN, you turn on MSNBC to see what they say. And I mean, Trump was standing up for America,
Hmm.
and these guys are standing up for Ukraine. What in the hell? What?
I don't know. It didn't make. I get no one wants to be at war. I get that, but for a sitting president from another country that has been given billions of dollars from America to keep them in the war, otherwise they'd have been mauled over and things would have been over in no time.
It
And
would have been over in no time.
it would have. And for him to come, you know, they can get loud and yell at each other all they want in closed doors. I mean, that's part of being a world leader. You kind of have that authority, but to do it like you said in front of a media, knowing how media is with Trump, he should have known, even though as much Trump's not like that's not going to work. But to
Well,
not
and Trump loved it. He
oh
loved
yeah,
it, right? Like he is like he has no filter. He's the same he's the same as he is right there in the Oval Office as he is behind closed doors. And he loved it. He even said there, I think this is going to make for great TV.
And,
Yeah.
and I know I'm a Trump guy. I'm Republican, but for people that don't like Trump, you've got to tip your hat to him today. I mean, just to be able to, just like you said, stand up for America. I mean, you don't have to love him, but his actions speak volumes. And to sit there, he let JD have his say. That might be the first time I've ever heard a vice president say anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
in my 49 years of age, and he was right in. Like I said, he backed himself out of a corner and turned it just right. But to have the nerve of being I mean, I understand. I've been out of the country enough, and I've been around enough to know that we are not like outside the United States. People are very jealous of us, of what we have. They don't like how we're the big brother that we stick our nose in a lot of stuff that we probably shouldn't stick our nose in. But
I
we
agree. I agree with that. And that's what Trump's trying to get out. Like, we spend so much money on other countries and we never get paid back. Never.
nothing, and we get nothing. I'm talking about there's not one benefit in return. We don't get discounts on oil. We don't get discounts on manufacturing stuff. And then we get nothing when we go to these countries. I mean, I've been in enough countries that, man, you get treated. I've been to some countries where I've been treated very, very good, and then I've been to a few that I was wondering if I should have stayed, was still there because of just how they, not per se treated me bad, but you could tell that they just didn't like Americans being there.
Hmm.
And he is doing everything, in my opinion, possible to get us out of debt, keep America safe first, because it should be America first over anything. Because if we can't take care of ourselves, then we don't need to take care of somebody else in another
Right.
country. But it was very patriotic. I felt today listening to Trump and Vance give it right back to him. And you're right, Trump is the kind of guy that I feel like he can go outside of Trump Towers and talk to the sanitation worker,
Yep.
and then Chinese prime minister walks in and he talks to him the same. Now
Yep.
he might have a different type of conversation, he might use different words, but he doesn't change his demeanor in any conversation. And there's not a lot of people like that, in my opinion. There's so many people, but it brought me back to Biden. Biden say what he was, who he was, how he was. I mean, pretty much, in my opinion, a lot of the proof's in the pudding, as they say. But it was like Zelensky thought he was talking to Biden and was just going to talk down to Trump like Trump wasn't nothing. And I don't know where in the world that man thought that was a good idea. Any point, I was just in amazed. It's just like, dude, do you not know who you're speaking to?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then for the liberal media to say, you know, that Trump was being disrespectful to Ukraine and Zelensky and is somehow, I don't know how they're coming up with this. And again, it's like the Russia deal. They're saying he's siding with Putin. Like, where does that even? And like he said today, he said, I'm trying to mediate this thing, essentially, is what he's saying. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to say that, I'm 100% in love with Zelensky and I can't stand
Yep.
Putin. He's like, no, I gotta maybe take it down here a notch with Ukraine, raise it up here a notch with maybe a couple notches with Russia, so that we can all like come together and find where it's beneficial for all parties involved to just to end this warfare and move on. But part of it is is it a money grab for Zelensky? I mean that.
It
Look,
seems.
look at everything he's getting. War, in times of war, countries make a lot of money.
Yep.
So, and he didn't play his cards right. I like that little, analogy that Trump brought in. You're not handling your cards right here, buddy. He's like, well, I'm not playing cards. Actually, you are.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
And so it is a card game, and he overplayed his hand. And he is, and you could tell that tonight when he's doing that interview with Brett Baer on Fox. He's talking, and he's like, I want the war to end, but I also, I mean, I'm sure in the back of his mind too, he's like, I'm gonna, my troops are gonna stand down, and then could Putin come back in and not honor his word and catch us off guard? But also, I think there is something like, hey, I'm getting all these benefits right now. Our country's getting money. We're getting ammunition. We're getting, tanks. We're getting military equipment, and more importantly, we're getting money again. Is that does that have something to do with it?
well, I don't see how it can't be because the amount of money that we alone as a country gave them, and I mean, it's mediation. It's no different than a man and woman in a mediation room going through a divorce.
Well, it's like a divorce, yeah.
It is, and you've got to give and take. It's not like Trump.
The husband could be a complete asshole, could have cheated on her with five different women, but you've got to, if there's a bunch of money involved or a lot at stake or kids involved, you got to kind of like put them on an even playing field, and then see where it works out, so that everybody kind of comes away from the table without. It can't be a continuous battle. At some point, we got to we got to compromise.
Right, exactly. And even Trump said, he's playing around with the next world war. If things just keep escalating at some point, other people's going to get involved. And it's not like I don't, I'm pretty confident to say this. Trump's not telling Ukraine, okay, you got to give away 3/4 of Ukraine and you can keep this little sliver, 2,000 square miles or something. And that's your country now. It's not going to be. I mean, but you've got to give and take, or you sit there and just stay in the war until you get completely obliterated. Because I mean, I've heard all kinds of different numbers of casualties in the war, and the bad thing is, and I've never been to that part of the world, but I have read enough. They're all the same people.
Yeah.
They're not per se, Russian. They're Soviet Union people. I mean, there's people on both sides of the country that can't even, or the different countries can't even go see their family members because one lives in Russia and one lives in Ukraine. And it's sad that it gets to that point. Now, I will say, I don't think this would have ever happened if Trump would have still been in office. I think it was just a poor stance in America of not, we should not scare people, but we are a country that just gets respect. People, like, hey, if we do this, this is going to cause a reaction. What reactions? And how does this affect America? It's not we're trying to have a God complex or anything, but when you are basically the brother's keeper, I think that's how you say it. You
Hmm.
know, a lot of things flow through America, like it or not. That's just the way the world has become over the last 200 years. And then on top of it, you help one side, and that side is so disrespectful that, in my opinion, his own people shouldn't like that. Now, I don't
Right.
know how they'll receive it because, you never know what kind of media they have there. But I will say, probably one of the worst root of evil in America is the news. Just the news outlets now. It's
Well, yeah, stirring
horrible.
it up, and Trump he was patriotic, like you said before,
Mhm.
and for the media to come after him today
It's
and
ridiculous.
side with the Ukrainian. I mean, Zelensky didn't even in his interview just a few minutes ago. He didn't say that he was at fault. He didn't say Trump was an idiot for doing this, and now nothing's going to get done, and I'm going to go. We're keeping this war going on forever. He like essentially, without saying he was sorry, did
Right.
say, and I think in his response on X said that he was basically like, thank you to the president. What did he say? I'm gonna try and I can't
Well, while you
figure
look,
this.
you
Yeah.
it's like you said earlier, it's all about leverage. And no matter if you're playing cards, you're in a war, you're in a negotiation with with your own pay stub, it's all about leverage. And if you don't have leverage, you can't overstep yourself like he did today. And what's bad is now he really has to come crawling back to get back to the table. And I'm curious to see what maybe the next 24, 48 hours, maybe first of the week, of how things respond. But I mean, the man's got to come back to the table and realize that he's got a concession. I mean, Putin's gonna it will concede some stuff. I mean, that's part of a war. Oh,
Right.
you agreement at some point. I mean, even go back to our Civil War. I mean, the South didn't want to succeed or to end it, but at some point it wasn't working out, and the cards wasn't in their favor. So they finally agreed ceasefire, and it finally stopped. I mean, it's no different than any of them. I mean, some wars last a long time. Some wars never stop because you get to the negotiating table before it goes. And I think that this war now is a good example of that. I think if Trump or somebody in the Biden administration that would have had the fortitude to get in the middle and not be, scared of what Mother Russia does per se, that they could have helped stop that before it started, because there still is no need for it to happen. There's no need for any war to start. But they're the same. Like I said earlier, they're the same people. They're the same origin more or less. For them to have to go through all what they're doing, and then the one side you think is the loser of the two because they're the smaller country, and the guy's just so disrespectful to really the only country that's truly been
The only one that's helped Europe isn't contributing like we are. Not at all.
it's just crazy how people are sometimes in major political or even major places of employment where they're the bosses, that they're just not in line to what they're assigned to do. I guess is a good way to.
Oh well, this is funny. I don't know if this is his legit account, but Vladimir Zelensky. This can't be his account because it's only got so many followers. But it says what you saw in the videos in my meeting with President Trump are fake. Everything is going fine, and the cash is still flowing. That's got to be fake.
Cash won't be flowing for long if it is right now.
Yeah, and then he had the audacity to say that's what I think that's what really got it going is like Zelensky said something like there's an ocean between you have a nice
Oh yeah,
beautiful ocean in between you and Europe for now. He's like it won't you're not always going to benefit from that is essentially what he said, and that just set Trump off.
you don't tell us how America's going to feel.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't tell us what's going to happen. We're plenty capable of taking care of ourselves.
That's right. Exactly.
I he's got. I think he's going to get an Iron Dome going soon too. He's talked about that. That's long overdue.
Yep, I agree. It's just I've said this about politics. Politics needs to be more common sense. A lot of things in politics.
It's not. I mean, it's everybody gets so one sided. There are things that where, I'm probably on the social side of things. I'm probably a little bit more liberal. I would consider myself not really conservative, a libertarian more so. But everybody gets so far left. Like my sister in law is so far left. Her husband was at the border. Her husband was in the military at the border. And you can't acknowledge that Biden had opened the floodgates. And I mean, she said also that inflation as prices were rising, she's like, oh, inflation doesn't exist. It's not a problem. And then
And it's talk to people like that.
it is. You can't carry on a conversation, and there's things that aggravate me about Trump. There's some things sometimes where I wish he would keep his mouth shut. Like, look, you're ahead you look good right now. Just stop
Yep.
and just shut up. And I really wish that he would do that something. But the thing is why the Democrats don't like this is because they basically gotten a free lunch,
Mm,
and for so long these senators are getting rich in
yep.
office, and these congresswomen men and women are getting rich in office, and they're living off the fat of the government. That's what they're doing.
Most definitely. Yeah, it's crazy that you'll see a senator that makes X amount of dollars, and then boom. And I'll give you a quick story about politics that you can take it from a small town to how they do it in the big government. So when I had my lumber business years ago, my company was on the Tennessee Mississippi border line, and most of my employees lived in Mississippi. Well, one day this guy shows up in a big old van at lunchtime, and he gets every one of my employees and puts them in a truck or van, and they leave. Well, about 20 minutes later, they come back. So the guy got out of the truck. Every one of my drivers had a 24 pack of beer in their hand. Save at that time, this was 20 years ago, say $15 or $20, somewhere in there's what he paid. So
Mhm.
I went up to him, introduced myself, asked him, what he was doing because he's on my property basically. And he's like, well, I'm so and so, and I'm running for road superintendent for the county that's across the line in Mississippi. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, what's up with the beer? And he said, oh, I'm just out here visiting my constituents, trying to get their vote. I said, oh, so $20 a vote. And he kind of just chuckled. Well, he got ready to leave, and I asked, sir, may I ask you how much that job pays? He said, yeah, sure. He said, you can look it up. It's like $19,000 and something. Well, he just spent $400 in beer at my location. And I'm like, and I laughed, and I was 19, 20. I get in at 19 probably. I said, no, sir,
Mhm.
that math don't work. And he chuckled, and he just said, well, certain roads are going to get paved if I'm in office. And that stuck with me because when I was very young, politics was really what I wanted to do. I
Yeah.
kind of got away from it as I got a little bit older, but I just thought about it. I'm like, all right, this guy's going to make 20 grand a year on basically a part time job,
Right.
spending more than 20 grand in votes, and he won. And then come to find out, every important person in the county got a brand new road. Well, those didn't get them for free, and
Yeah.
it
No.
think
No. Nothing comes for free.
right. And then you take that small of a scale and that little bit of power. As road superintendent, probably in my opinion, don't have much power because they're sitting there getting complained at every day. Hey, this such and such road needs paving. Hey, we got this huge pothole. So imagine a senator, a representative, president,
Hmm.
the power that you have to do things for boosters or lobbyists or just somebody that it's too easy to get yourself in trouble
Right.
because of the way government is done. It's just like I don't like government in the simple fact that if you went to the Senate floor and you had this great idea and we all loved your idea for whatever the reason was, we should be able to put that on the board to be voted on to be passed.
Yeah.
I come up to you and go, well, hey, I sure will vote for that, but hey, I need to get this such and such through my through for me because for my state has nothing to do with yours at all, and it devalues your great plan. But the only way to get it done, we got to throw 5,000 earmarks into something to get something done, and it's that there again. It's the common sense of hey, if it's a good thing, everybody should be on board, or enough people be on board to get it passed. Because my opinion, and I hate to say this about politics, I don't care how good, and I know a couple politicians that, from what I know, they're still good people and doing a good job. But it's very hard to be probably a mayor and higher in politics and stay in it for 20 or 30 years and be squeaky clean. I
Right.
just don't know how you can do that, especially if you ever advance within your political system, because you're going to end up with somebody that's going to have you, by the kahunas, and you're going to have to do their bidding, even if they don't put money in your pocket. And yeah, I mean, I guess you could sit there and go, well, if I do that, make a deal with the devil, I'm going to be able to help X amount of people with what my vision is.
Oh, I mean, you look at it. I'm looking at I'm on the Department of Government Efficiency
Mm-hmm.
X site and or X profile, and they constantly list things that they're sending to Trump to and the administration to cut.
Mm-hmm.
And you have $25,000 to increase vegan local climate action innovation in Zambia, not even in the U.S., in Zambia. You have $3.3 million for being LGBTQLIXZY in the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, you have 8 million to reduce stigma, discrimination, and violence against LGBTQ communities in Lesotho. I don't even know where the hell Lesotho is. What is Lesotho?
I've heard of it.
Um,
European, maybe?
huh?
Is it
You've heard
European?
of it?
I have heard of it.
Les Lesotho. Where is Lesotho?
I
Let's
probably
see. Oh, in South Africa. In South Africa.
I was all, but I have heard of
You have, and this is something that isn't necessarily, I don't know. I mean, 79 million for primary literacy in Kenya, maybe. Okay. You have 74 million for inclusive justice. What the hell is inclusive justice in Colombia? And here's the thing, maybe some of these programs they had good. I still can't get past. I mean, it's only $25,000, but I still can't. Vegan local climate action innovation.
it.
What
Even know
is
what that.
that?
Yeah, I don't even know what
What
that.
in the world? I'm sure that some of these people had some good intentions when they're drafting this, but the problem that they're finding is like this. Like, for example, maybe this like 37 million for female empowerment in Colombia, all the money didn't even get there. So where is it? Where is it?
No, I can promise.
There may not even be any record of the money going anywhere.
And you know what's sad about every one of them and all the other ones that's on that list? Not any of them is a you know $4 or $5 $50 million program for the veterans. Disability veterans that come back
It's
from.
all in other countries, and let me ask: when have those other countries ever repaid us or done anything for us? You have millions of dollars going for Sesame Street in Iraq. What? I mean, I don't, this, and then to hear people from the left complain about this Department of Government Efficiency. Do you know that? And they're complaining about Elon Musk not being an elected official. You know what I found out the other day? You know who was running Biden's cabinet meeting?
I had heard.
His wife. So what are you talking? And Biden and he was not the main man behind all the actions the administration took.
Nope. No, there was
So
somebody.
for them to be, it just seems like they should be behind this. Everybody is, if you are in office and you've been like so many of these Democrats have been talking about cutting waste,
Hmm.
and Republicans, I think
Oh yeah.
that is something where we should say, like, look, there's a lot of fat here. We need
Yep.
to get rid of this. We need to, like, let's not saying that you shouldn't have USAID,
Right.
but what is USAID funding right now? And does it fall in line with like our core values? And is it something that the American people should truly be spending money on? I just,
Well,
to reform that, what is the problem? How can you argue against that?
yeah, and how can you be a senator, a House representative, and you go, in the next year, and you start, running for the midterms, and you have somebody stand up and go, how can you not be with Doge and getting money in the right places? How can you be okay with Sesame Street in Iraq But veterans, homeless, disease, all this in America, and none of it's we could be wealthy enough that a lot of people don't have to work, and we'd have so much money that the government you could just get a paycheck from the government every year. Every
Yeah.
person could get a certain amount. And then if you wanted to over that, you can work, and because we would have enough money. But there's so many things here in our country that needs to be done. I mean, I'll give a prime example, and I believe Trump said this in his first time he ran. And I don't know how many people really understand this, but our airports are third world country. I know that for a fact. Our airports are horrible. Are horrible. I live near two major airports. The Nashville airport is nicer. They've done a lot. The Memphis airport, it's a cesspool. I mean, it don't look no different than it did 30 years ago. I mean, they've done a little bit of upgrades.
Well, I got to tell you, Tampa Airport's really nice.
See, there's so many. I've been to a couple of them in China. They're like
Yeah.
museum quality stuff, and you walk
Yeah.
in America. Where was I at the last time I flew? Where was we at? We were in, was it Utah? Maybe it was Salt Lake. And I was walking through there, and I was like, man, I've been in Seoul, Korea, and the airport looked better than this. Just the infrastructure stuff. I'll even go back to Obama, and which I'll never understand is he did that, and I don't remember the name, so I can't quote it for sure. But the kind of building America's roads and all that, he did this big.
Yeah, it was an infrastructure like it was like rebuilt. There was always signs all over highways and stuff.
Yeah, well, even back then, Democrats and the left really were wanting to start talking about, electric cars and all that. Okay, why not? If that's what you want to do, spend that money when he started that and start putting, charging stations, charging, per se gas station like places and stuff. But they don't ever want to spend the money which would make sense. And I'm not saying that Republicans are saints when it comes to spending. They're all overblow spending and do things. My whole point is we should start spending money in the country. I mean, we got plenty of stuff that can be program wise. Not
Well,
only,
I think it starts with, and I think you're right. It's both
oh yeah,
Democrats and Republicans. I think our country gets run better when maybe even you lower the salaries of these individuals, but regardless of that, you can raise them, lower them, whatever you want to do, but giving term limits, and that's it. These cannot be
yeah.
lifetime positions. Like, how long has Nancy Pelosi been in office? How long has Chuck Schumer been in office?
Well, there was
And it's the same on the right too. I mean, how long these people are getting rich, and they're getting rich from this wasteful spending. I mean, just follow the money. I'm sure. I mean, our government as corrupt could be.
and that's not unusual when there's greed and money involved in stuff. It's too tempting to most
Well,
people.
it happens, right? I mean, even in the state government, I remember talking to a buddy of mine, and his friend, and I'm not going to say who, is a state senator in Florida, and he, goes to Tallahassee. He's a freshman senator, and goes and he thinks that he's gonna, fix the
Dang
east
it.
coast of Florida. And he's like, he's ready. He's sitting, he's getting sworn in, and then they go to this hotel and have lunch. And then he's looking around, and all these like senators are going into like little rooms, and they're just talking. They're going into side rooms, and they're working out deals. And he's asking, he's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "They're starting negotiations." And he's like, "Negotiations on what?" And they're starting to work deals, and it's all a money grab. I mean,
If it's we have a lot of flaws in America, a lot of different, and the problem is a lot of them when government they're so far along that you can't. It's hard to fix it. It's even like what Social Security and welfare. They need a complete overhaul. But if you were to do away with welfare and retool it and redo it way it should have been intended, you'd probably start a war. As soon as you cut everybody's benefits, we'd be at war with each other. And it just and it's like just we'll put a band-aid on it. It'll be okay. Let's put a band-aid on. Okay, let's get some money over here to keep funding, Social Security. We'll put a band-aid on it. And you get so far down the road that you can't come back because a lot of the things in the government you need to just blow it up and start completely over. And it would take somebody like Trump to do any of that because most people they worry about their image or they have too many people in their back pockets that because it ain't cheap to be president. For some reason, it costs gazillions of dollars to run, to run the president, to be run against somebody for president. So unless you're a billionaire, you're gonna have to have people in your pocket to get you there, and nobody wants to be that
You
guy.
mean you're gonna have to be in other people's pockets to get you there?
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're gonna have to get in other people's pockets to get you there, and that's why Trump is such a tough nut to crack because he doesn't need their money. He's not even taking a salary.
And I don't think he even cares what people think about it.
He doesn't. No, he doesn't care, and especially now that he's not gonna be running again in 4 years. He's able to do what he wants to do. He's able to call the shots, and he doesn't care what you say. And I love watching him put reporters in their place. He's like, that's a dumb question, just straight up, that's a dumb question. I
Or if
saw
it's
a number he's taken. So Biden in his first month took 100 and some odd questions. Trump's taken well over 1,000. He is the most transparent president in maybe our grandparents' lifetime. I mean, he is, and maybe ever because of the way technology is now. I mean, you get videos like that, like we saw today. That wouldn't have happened even, you even go back to Clinton or Bush. I mean, just even as recent as that. I mean, I don't know. And now you've got Twitter and Facebook, and so everybody sees it. Even if you're not in front of a TV, it used to be to get the news, you had to be in front of a TV. Now you get alerts on your phone. I
yep.
mean, you get, and that's just,
Well, and two, you can watch TV from your phone now. So
you can. Yeah.
so you got to be at home, in front of it at 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock to even or to see
I
it.
remember, I remember it was a big deal. So I, I'm not a huge golf guy, but I love watching the Masters and I love watching March Madness. Like coming up, this is like my Christmas time. So I remember when I had a job, in the early 2000s after I graduated college, watching. And unless you were in front of a TV, we had to take off work. We had to like skip out on work to go to like Buffalo Wild Wings to watch March Madness. And I remember I mean, it may have been 2007, 2008 when we could start watching that on the on the web on like cbssports.com. It may have been a little bit before that. And you could click a boss button to like hide it. Like if you were watching it online, you could click a boss button and it would put up some like random spreadsheet.
That's pretty cool.
So, but yeah, I mean, media now, I mean, you get it anywhere and you can kind of choose. And this is the benefit of like podcasts because you don't have to rely on the four major stations, maybe five, you throw Fox in there. You don't have to rely on those stations. You can get your news from anyone or anybody.
Well, it's even too. I even told this to my daughter the other day. She's still in high school, and I said I think social media jobs are going to get even bigger.
Yeah.
Everybody, every person, even the president has a POTUS social media person. Like they took a video of him the other day.
Well,
Agree.
that's and he's making money off of that. Anyone who does, I mean, YouTube, X,
Yep.
Facebook, they pay. And President Trump is the most popular on social media. He doesn't need some measly $400,000 president salary. He's
No.
making bank on his social media sites. That's got to be because
Oh,
everybody does. I mean, it's you get a certain amount of followers, you get a certain amount of listeners, and I mean, he's got millions. So
well, did you see him the other day? And I can't remember. It aggravates me. I can't remember the hat. He had some followers mailed a bunch of red, make MAGA hats, but it had something else saying on it, like "We made America better again" or something. But it was like an extra word on top, and he had like a 12 pack of them, and he was handing a couple of them out to the reporters. He had just got through signing something into order, and he's like, you know what? He told whoever was beside him, let's start making these and sell them. And I can appreciate that, and I know you can too, being an entrepreneur. You know,
why not? You never saw Biden shirts. How many times did you see Trump shirts or Trump flags or, nobody wore Biden shirts, Harris shirts, or had Harris mugs. I mean,
I'll
you
be
know,
honest. The other time I know of any kind of material like that was during Clinton and Lewinsky deals. Otherwise,
I saw, what I saw. So those sports stores in the malls or whatever, sports memorabilia stores. So you know how they've got posters of or signed posters, signed thing, autographed like framed art
oh
that
yeah,
you can put up. Like they may have a jersey in there or whatever. Anyway, they had a picture of the White House, and then below it was a picture of Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton, like basically shaking hands in the Oval Office, and Monica Lewinsky signed it.
oh right,
It was going for like $1,500 or something like that. Yeah.
that is that is. But that's the only other time that I know of any kind of, I never. I mean, Obama was very, very popular. Could talk very well. I think it's
Yeah.
get him up the ladder. But you still didn't see. I mean, you seen Obama stickers and signs, but you didn't see people, wearing, like a shirt or a flag. You know,
Oh yeah, Trump has like
he has a
WWE shirts.
Yeah, well, he has a trailer. He has trailers that go around the country because in the little town I used to live in, I mean, it's got 300 people. There was a trailer between it and 6 cities, and it would come once a week, and that damn thing was loaded with everything Trump.
Well, he's a marketer, and that's good on him. He'd be dumb not to. I mean, if you've got a name out there that in a brand. I mean, I remember working. I remember I worked at Macy's in college for a little while, and I'd get the Trump button-down shirts and Trump ties. I mean, he sold that. He's a marketer, so he's a businessman. I'd rather him. I think it's extremely, you know, American of him, I guess I would say, of making money off of a brand himself rather than taking the salary used to be 400 grand. It may be higher now, but rather than taking that salary, I think at least when he was in office before, he donated that salary.
Different chair.
But I'd much rather him make money, from his brand than
Well,
like every other president out there.
yeah, and you're right. It is American. I mean, George Washington was not a politician. Now, I don't know how far the line up to the next couple presidents when they really were politicians, but I've always said we should have business people running America. We are a business.
It is a business. Yeah, America is a business.
It is. And, these people now are groomed to be a politician because of your name, where you went to school. You don't learn. And that's the biggest issue, that there is a huge, I don't know the word, but there's a huge gap between high end politicians and even middle America, not even counting the lower income part of America. It's a huge gap. And I'm not saying Trump has a closer gap, but when you're an employer like Trump and you have people all across the country in different avenues that you employ, he don't know every one of them. I understand.
Yeah.
Owner just called me. But as a business owner, you hear stories, you do talk to a few people, you do have that connection, even if it's through your foreman that you talk to about, so you can gas what people are dealing with a certain income or a certain area in the country that somebody's dealing with, whatever. But these politicians that just go to Harvard or Cornell or any of those schools, and they've had a super nice life to begin with, and then they end up being a senator or whatever, they have no clue what me and you, even in the middle class, go through. Less, somebody that's, it's just like their whole argument of raising minimum wage. That don't do any. I mean, yeah, it's great to put more money into but everything just goes up and nothing changes. Now you got to go.
Well, and they don't, yeah, and that's where prices rise. I was thinking about that the other day. Like my sister-in-law a couple months ago was talking about, like, she's got this new position, and we know she does very well for herself. She's a biostatistician. She's worked hard. She's gone to a great school. And she's gotten a raise, and I'm not saying she's deserving of all of her money, but we have told employers over the last several years that you are not paying your employees enough and you need to raise wages. You need to constantly look at raising the minimum wage. You need to raise your wages. They should go along or exceed what inflation is doing. There's got to be a certain point, and these people don't understand what you're doing to employers. There's a certain point where cuts have to be made.
Right.
If I'm paying somebody $50,000 a year, and now I have to pay them $75,000 a year, well, guess what? I'm going to find any way I can to cut $25,000 out of my budget.
Yeah. And you know what the sad part of all that is, and I'll use McDonald's as an example. Their service wasn't great at $6, $7 an hour. It's worse now, and they're paying people $12 an hour. And I always thought that was going to be the case, because you're not going to get a more uh, educated person per se because it's $5 or $6. You're still going to get the same, people that was at the $5 or $7, but people don't care at that point. I have no problem. I mean, I honestly, I dug ditches for a living when I was out of high school. Probably the worst job I ever had. But no job to me was underneath me. I didn't like it. Trust me, I cussed a lot and didn't stay very long until I got a better job. But nowadays people think being a food server is beneath them. Nothing's under beneath anybody when you're first starting out or you're hungry. I mean, I
That's
went
right.
through a rough patch, I'd say about 7 years ago, before I truly kicked back into the trucking industry again. I'm a single dad, really no help within the family. My family lives off. My mother is sickly. My daughter's mom's no longer with us. She passed a couple years ago. She passed, I guess it'd be 3 years in May, I think. And
How'd she die?
I heart attack.
Okay.
No, they didn't do an autopsy. And I won't. I know, and my daughter does well, but even before that, I had full custody of my daughter basically for 10 years now. And
Okay.
so she wasn't in the picture, so it's always just been me. And
Yeah.
it was a struggle for a couple of years. And I had to take whatever type of job I could get to. I was making like $300 a week. That was it. But I was blessed because I'd had my lumber business before, and I'd made enough money where I didn't have a house. And so I didn't have a whole lot of bills, but I had to take her to school and be there at 7, drop her off 7:30. Well, I had to be back at her school at 4 o'clock to pick her up from after school. Okay, well, there's not a whole lot of jobs that will allow.
Where you can work those hours.
Right. So I was blessed, and I found a place that would work with me. And it, it was more of a part-time thing, and I took it. I mean, because I didn't, to me, I didn't have a choice. And then I kept working towards finding other avenues, and got into the trucking to where I was able to. And I've been blessed for it because I do, work from this same seat every day. But there's no job that anybody shouldn't feel like that's above or beneath them. You might not be the job you want to do, and I think that goes back again to how a lot of people get money that don't need to get money. It's just like, in my opinion, with welfare and Social Security. There should be no limitation of how much money you can make if you're on some of that, as long as you truly need it. If
Right.
you're just 100% disabled, you shouldn't work at all. if you have a certain issue that you can't, you like my mother, she's disabled and she has IBS. Okay, well she goes to the restroom quite often, and you never know. Okay, if she's getting that benefit, why not put on there, hey, you could do some type of volunteer work, from home, and get people, motivated to do it. And it would make, in my opinion, everybody appreciate things more, because everybody just wants a handout, and instead of taking the jobs. And then that brings in, I have no problem with the Mexicans coming across the border and working, because they will take any job that nobody wants, and they typically do a good job with it. And a lot of people get mad at that, but I don't see people standing in line wanting to flip a hamburger, or to dig a ditch, or to you know do all these jobs that are not fun jobs at all, but yet people don't want other people taking them. And it's just like, hey, we have to find a middle ground to get people to want to work, because even the way I am, if I'd hit the lottery tomorrow, yeah, I probably wouldn't work full time or do what I do as much now, but I couldn't sit still. And it just makes me wonder sometimes how people can sit still.
Right. No, you're 100% right. Hold on one second. I gotta leave.
Oh, you're good. But I was going to, well, hey, while you're doing that, I don't think we've talked about this yet, but we was talking about Trump. Did you hear they're trying to pass a law to make a new bill denomination? Yeah, they're talking about they're supposedly not too. Yeah, and supposedly they're going to try to put Trump on it. And Trump has nothing to do with this. And it boils down from what I read, and it should be, in my opinion, we should have never got rid of the 500 or the $1,000 bill, because most American, it wasn't really ever made for Americans to hold, but it's for the transactions. Now, of course, we don't do as much paper transaction as we did, say, 10 years ago, because of cards, credit card, electronic pay and stuff. But imagine the amount of bills that get moved every day from central bank to local banks, and the biggest domination is $100. And you just so they're talking about trying to, I guess, get rid of some of the hundreds, and have a little bit bigger denomination to help transport money with what little bit we still do, because I truly believe we will be completely digital. Yeah. And I don't know if we've ever seen anything like that, even in a video. Of course, it wouldn't be nothing where it was live like it, because how technology is now. But I never remember in my lifetime seeing anything like that, and I can't say that I remember seeing anything like in archives, or interviews or something, to where like a news channel would air it later, of that type of behavior from somebody that's a guest in the White House. I don't know if I've ever seen anything it even comes from. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's a an odd duck, that's for sure. And people like that, the really really intelligent, smart people, they teeter on being, you know, on the other side, because they're so intelligent, so smart. Yeah, he's he's definitely an odd. I think it's right. Yep. Yeah, running. Yeah. Well, hey, before we get off, what do you think about the $5 million gold card? Heard about that? Yeah. So Trump is going to introduce the gold. Yep. Yeah. 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 So he thinks that this could take half the debt away. So basically, in a nutshell, if you're a rich person that wants to come into America, that you can get basically a green card, which is going to be a gold card. You pay 5 million. That gets you access to America, and it puts you on the fast track to become a citizen, if that's what they want. And he had named how many billionaires were in the world, and he figured every one of them was going to need it. And they think they can sell, I think, what did he say? A couple 100,000 or some crazy number, and that he thought he could at least take half the debt, our national debt away, just off this. I mean, it don't hurt to try it, even if they don't sell but one or two. Which, I know enough about people that are outside the country. The wealthy, they want to come here because of the opportunity, different things, and so I think it'll work. Because you know how people are. People like the prestigious stuff. I mean, it's no different than a credit card. You want the American Express Gold card or you want the black card. You don't want the green or the purple or the light blue American Express card. I mean,
Right.
it's all status. Everything's status. So I'm curious to see where that goes. But you know, any idea you can come up with to help knock the debt out, and if he could get that debt knocked down pretty close or wiped out by the time he leaves office, I don't know how you could deny anything in history because that
Yeah.
would.
Yeah, I agree with it. And did you see? I mean, Apple, what they how $25 billion investment? I don't. Is that the number? $25 billion investment. I think it was that they invested into the country.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous number.
I mean, I don't know that these type of investments from either businesses or individuals from overseas or companies like Apple have ever happened. I
Mm-mm.
mean, I don't recall ever hearing about it. Is this something new, you think?
I think it is. In my opinion, people don't like Trump, and that's fine. But businesses, two reasons. One's the tariff. People are going to just spend the money here versus being hit with the tariffs. I think that's part of it. But two, and this is where it goes back to, I think businessmen should be the leader of our country. I think it makes people in the business world feel okay because there's a business Trump and there's a presidential Trump. And no matter if you don't like him the president, people understand, I think, in the business world, the man knows what he's doing. And yes, he's filed bankruptcy. That's business. There's
That's business.
it is. I mean,
That
that's
is business. Credit problems,
yeah,
debt problems, bankruptcy. That is business.
business. And if you're an entrepreneur, you don't let that stop you. You
Yep. I
figure out
filed bankruptcy. I mean, I was in business. I failed and then picked myself back up and
exactly. So
you know,
businesses like Apple, yes, like I said, I do think a lot of it's got to do with the tariffs, but I think they feel comfortable that knowing everything's going to be fine. Now they have no clue in 4 years. I get that, but they're looking at the best interest and going, "Hey, we've got a chance to be very stable and can make money. And if things are done right in America with the businesses, they won't leave. You
yeah.
know, take care of them after the fact. It's no different than that than like even where I'm from. We'll have a factory come in. The county will give them the land. They will say, hey, you don't have to pay property tax or any kind of tax for 50 years because you get the business still, the company, the county still gets benefits. They get the revenue from the employers because they're going to spend money in the county at the grocery stores. The
Well,
dollar.
you heard Florida DeSantis is talking about doing away with property tax.
Yeah.
And that he's going to Florida's going to get flooded.
Yeah, they already probably get as flooded as it.
Well, Tampa's crazy. I mean, we'll get into that more next time, and I definitely want to dive into this gold card a little deeper because I think that's a big deal. It's a
It is.
big deal for innovation, for our infrastructure, for growth, and that's what Trump sees the big picture.
I
He
agree.
sees the big picture, and it's just going to benefit all of us.
I agree. And
So
the entrepreneur side of him. I'm a smaller entrepreneur just like you are. I'm nowhere near as big time or ever will be of what the Trump's vision is. But I see the.
we'll be big.
Oh,
We're going to be big time.
there you go. I like the idea of. Hey,
You got my wife says that's her motto. Speak it in. Speak it in.
there you go. Hey, I like that. We'll have to keep doing that. But I do. I can see the vision because we shouldn't have to depend on nobody for anything. Yes, it costs us a little bit more because of Americans making it and all that. But if we've not already seen in the last 2 years that we somehow can afford to pay more at Walmart for every item, then we as Americans can afford American made product.
Right.
So, we're
Yeah.
not like the China economy where they don't need anybody. If they could ever build the middle class.
Well, and I think I mean, look, competition in the U.S. it's just going to drive down prices.
Mhm.
Competition is good. I don't, that right now, if you need something like my wife is starting a clothing line, if you need something in America, that means you need it now and you need it fast. And if you're calling, that's because there's not many options and you can't wait on what's in China. So you're going to pay.
And you,
However, if you've got manufacturers everywhere they start coming into America and start building businesses in here and there's competition drives down prices
amen. Yep.
every time. It's healthy.
It is. There's nothing wrong with good competition in anything, sports, life, business. Yeah, it's a
I
plus.
mean, look at ReadyApp, for example. There's not much competition right now in the onboarding and recruiting side of the driver hiring world or contractor hiring world for that matter. And recruiting is very expensive,
Yes, it is
and the service that we're offering is going to be more affordable and more efficient.
more efficient.
So,
That makes it more affordable.
yep,
That's the key. Is efficiency is going to save you money.
yep, and that's healthy competition. Well, we've run out of time here tonight. We've actually gone over. That's the benefit of podcasting. So, but we'll pick this up next week. And Justin, you have a good night.
Man, you too. Y'all have a good weekend. Thanks everybody for listening.
All right, everybody. All right, see you.